40, I'm dying.
Penny X.
They beat them these niggas. Balance in the palace.
So Summer Smash just happened a little bit over a week ago, and for a lot of people that might be the most fun they have for the entire summer, and they prefer Summer Smash to other big festivals like Lollapalooza, Gov Ball, Rolling Loud, or maybe even Coachella. Now others might be thinking, what the fuck is Summer Smash, or how is it even in the same conversation as something like Coachella, considering Summer Smash hasn't even been around for a decade yet? Well, I'm here to explain to you the rise of Summer Smash. So before we get into everything, if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you like and subscribe so you can always see other videos like this. And if you really enjoyed the video, make sure you comment and let me know what you want to see covered next. Now, the first ever Summer Smash was held in 2018 in Douglas Park in Chicago. It only lasted a day and had performances from artists like Joey Badass, Trippie Redd, Famous Dex, Ski Mask the Slump God, and Gunna. But before we can get into that, we have to go all the way back to over a decade before that, to the very beginnings of Lyrical Lemonade, which was started by
Cole Bennett, owner and founder of Lyrical Lemonade,
the music video company, as well as Summer Smash, the summer, I guess, festival that mainly puts on rap performances. According to the Lyrical Lemonade website, they're currently known as a multimedia company specializing in music videos, live events, exclusive content, merchandise, and plenty more. So with that mention of live events on their website, we can already see how Summer Smash plays a major part into what Lyrical Lemonade is today. But back before all of this, Cole Bennett was just a high school kid in Plano, Illinois that was very interested in his media classes and very interested in the Chicago rap scene that was happening just about an hour away from him. But before we go on for a second, just think for a moment, what was happening in Chicago music back in 2013? I mean, you had Chief Keef blowing up, you had Chance the Rapper blowing up, you had Kanye West, who was already massive before he went absolutely batshit crazy. And Cole saw this and realized that he wanted to be a part of this musical history. And soon enough, because of those two interests, Cole Bennett was shooting music videos in his hometown of Plano, Illinois for a bunch of local artists and some of his friends just for fun. Like, he wasn't getting paid and they weren't too great of music videos, but he really enjoyed doing it. So to start out his dream and get a more direct connection to that Chicago music scene, Cole Bennett decided that he wanted to start an online blog where he covered these Chicago artists and a bunch of other artists that he thought deserved a lot more recognition in the scene. And after debating a name and logo for days, damn near weeks, with the help of his mom, he landed on the name Lyrical Lemonade. And very soon after that, he had the logo, also with the help of his mom, and stickers for that logo. And again, with the help of his mom, he had a website that he started up and began to work on. So if it wasn't for Mama Bennett, there probably would be no Cole Bennett as we know him today, which means no Lyrical Lemonade, and for damn sure means there would be no Summer Smash. And almost immediately, he started doing multiple posts a day on his website covering albums and songs and artists that he thought, like I said, deserved a lot more recognition. He would do as many as 5 to 10 posts a day just because he wanted to crank that content out. And from there, during his senior year of high school, he started trying to take trips as often as he could to the city of Chicago, about an hour away, which was damn near every weekend for him, so he could get more like boots on the ground information and get more accurate stuff for his blog. And that's why he was so successful. Like, he honestly just wanted it more. If he wanted to make something happen, he went out and made it happen. And it was after going to a bunch of these local shows that Cole decided that he wanted to throw a show of his own with artists that he liked. Being a high school senior, you don't A, have much money, or B, pretty much any pull in the music industry at all. But he wanted to make it happen, and eventually he found a little music rehearsal hall called the Music Garage that let him throw his show. Now remember, he has no money and no pull, like I just said, so he needed artists that would perform for him for free. So he immediately went online, like on Twitter, trying to find these artists that would be willing to perform at his show for the free ski. And eventually he found an artist by the name of Saba, along with a bunch of other artists that would go on to perform at his very first show. And by February 2014, it happened. Cole Bennett's very first show was a success. By the time it was all said and done, about 300-ish people had came and went throughout the night, and to Cole, that was an insanely good turnout. And this mindset and this turnout and this motivation from this very first show would continue to push Cole and push him to work on Lyrical Lemonade, as well as form what would eventually become the Summer Smash. Now, after Cole graduated high school in Plano, Illinois, he decided that he wanted to go to DePaul University in 2014, a university in the heart of Chicago, and he was going to study digital cinema. But as Cole got deeper and deeper into his studies of digital cinema at school, he realized that he had a lot more fun shooting those music videos rather than doing the actual blog posts themselves. But even though he was having a lot of fun doing these music videos, it was kind of discouraging because his professors, they were film masters, pretty much told him that if he wanted to do anything in the film industry at all, he would have to spend a decade plus being a production assistant and do all of that other stuff and pretty much work his way up the ladder over the next 15 years, which wasn't really something that he wanted to do, but ultimately he didn't really care because he didn't want to do films. He wanted to do music videos. Those are what he thrived on and what he loved. So because of that, he ended up changing his major from digital cinema to just normal communications because he figured he could teach himself everything from the camera work and the film side of things from YouTube, and he decided that he wanted to really focus on and learn the people and social network aspect of the industry, which is more so what communications would teach him. Now, by the end of Cole's freshman year at DePaul in 2015, he had done a couple cypher events and he was working on putting on the Lyrical Lemonade Showcase 4.0. And these showcases were pretty much like that very first show that Cole Bennett threw. It was just a group of artists that Cole really fucked with, and he put on a showcase where all of them could perform at. Now, this Showcase 4.0 was different though. It was set to be the biggest one that he had had so far because he had an artist by the name of SD headlining, along with support from Martin Sky, Her Everybody, and Roy French, which if you know anything about the Chicago scene back then, this was huge, and these artists were pretty well known in the underground scene back then. And not shockingly at all, because of this, the show ended up being a huge success. And because of how successful this show was, Cole decided that it was time for him to expand. He didn't want to just throw shows for local Chicago artists anymore. He wanted to get out and find an artist that wasn't from his city and throw a show in Chicago for that artist. Now, this video isn't about Lyrical Lemonade and Cole Bennett like the music video connoisseurs that we know today. It's about the rise and how Cole Bennett made Summer Smash. But I do feel that it's worth noting that by the beginning of 2016, Cole Bennett had earned himself an opportunity to film some BTS for a rapper shooting a music video in Chicago, and that rapper was none other than Famous Dex. Now, this is how Cole Bennett and Famous Dex become really, really good friends. They hit it off at this music video shoot. This is where it all started. And back in 2016, Famous Dex is massive. He's one of the probably biggest artists, biggest rappers out during that time. So this is an insane opportunity for Cole. And because of how well Cole and Dex ended up getting along, Dex ended up introducing Cole to someone else, another really big artist in the name of Soulja Boy. Now, of course, Soulja Boy and Cole also hit it off, and I couldn't tell you exactly how the conversation went, but Cole ended up convincing both of them to let him shoot music videos for them and post them on the Lyrical Lemonade YouTube channel. Now, once that actually came to fruition and both of the videos were done and posted, obviously because they're from these well-known artists, the videos blew up, and it was Cole's very first time sort of cracking into that mainstream and seeing what life could be like on the other side of the underground a little bit. But another insane event in 2016 that would shape Lyrical Lemonade and eventually lead to the Summer Smash is a completely different event. And it took Lyrical Lemonade and Cole Bennett really to the very next level. Remember earlier how I said that Cole Bennett wanted to expand who he threw shows for in Chicago? Well, he had his sights set in late 2015 on one artist, and that artist's name was Lil Uzi Vert. Now at this time, late 2015, very early 2016, Uzi hadn't completely blown up yet. He had a little bit of buzz, but he wasn't massive. And Cole really enjoyed his music and wanted to book him in Chicago Chicago. So he literally Googled and looked up how to book Lil Uzi, and he was met with the phone number of Lil Uzi's agent. Now, the agent wanted $8,000 to book Uzi in Chicago and $2,000 up front, which for Cole Bennett back then, a college student, is not chump change. Like, that's a lot of money to commit to something where you could potentially lose thousands. But almost without thinking, Cole wired the money to Uzi's agent, and it was pretty much all the money that Cole had from shooting music videos and doing these other shows. But he really wanted to make it happen, so he did it. So with Lil Uzi now confirmed to be coming to Chicago after Cole paid that $2,000 down payment, the show was announced to the public in February 2016, but it wouldn't happen until that April. Now, between February and April, something insane would happen. See, on April 15th, Uzi released his mixtape, Lil Uzi vs. the World. And that mixtape had hit songs like P's and Q's, You Was Right, and of course, Money Longer, all of which could probably be argued to be top 5 Lil Uzi songs depending on who you asked. And it was because of this mixtape that Uzi was officially pushed into the mainstream of the music industry, and his career blew up within days of him dropping this mixtape. Mind you, Cole had booked him in December, January, February-ish, and that show was coming up just 2 weeks after he dropped that mixtape. It would be Uzi's first ever show in Chicago, and because of this, the tickets that were originally $36 and had Cole wondering if he would even break even were now reselling for over $200 and were officially sold out and circulating everywhere. And not shockingly, the show was an insane success, not only because of Lil Uzi and his performance, but also because of who his support were, and Martin Sky, Roy French, and Cole's newest friend, Famous Dex. And this show overall really boosted what it meant to be a part of the Lyrical Lemonade crew and have and be a part of a show thrown by Lyrical Lemonade. And it overall boosted who knew him in Chicago, and it made artists like King Louie, Femdot, Smoke Perp, and Warhols really want music videos from him because they now saw and trusted what he can do with a big event, but also saw his earlier music videos from Famous Dex and Soulja Boy. And because of all of this success that Cole Bennett was having, he decided that he would drop out of DePaul. Now, earlier in the year, he had made a list of goals that he wanted to accomplish, and like I said, with all the success, he accomplished them, and that's what really tipped the scale for him to drop out. And by summer 16, the summer before what would have been his junior year at DePaul, it really paid off because he could fully focus on Lyrical Lemonade, so he got a bunch of people wanting him for music videos. And it also led him to building towards that very first Summer Smash in 2018. But before we get into that, we're still in the summer 2016. And in the summer 2016, Cole would put on what would be known as the Lyrical Lemonade Summer Bash. And it was his biggest and most ambitious event so far. It took place in the Portage Theater in Chicago on July 15th, 2016. And it had artists like Ugly God and Warhols, and Made in Tokyo was headlining. And overall, it felt like what would be a next, very logical and very big step for Cole, considering how big of a crowd he was able to draw in for Lil Uzi. But it turned out that wasn't the case at all, because by the time the Summer Bash was all said and done, Cole ended up losing over $9,000 because the show just didn't really sell how he expected it to sell. So besides this show, music videos were really the only way he was earning money, and that $9,000 was a very, very big hit to him because he wasn't really charging that much for music videos at that time. And because of this, we almost lost Lyrical Lemonade fully because Cole really needed a way to make money, and he had interviewed and set up a way for him to do that. But it wasn't through music videos or anything in the music industry at all. It was through construction. Cole wanted to get enough money to pay off that $9,000 by working construction and completely forgetting about Lyrical Lemonade. But before he fully committed to saying, fuck Summer Smash, fuck Lyrical Lemonade, I need this consistent source of money, something told Cole to keep grinding and to keep pushing because, I mean, after all, he had already dropped out of college for it, so it was worth fighting for. So he took a kind of like reasonably expected break from doing shows for a little bit, like big shows, and he put more and more of his energy into doing these music videos because there was less risk on his end and it offered him the opportunity to earn more consistent money, even if it was less money. So between 2016 and 2017, he grinded out music videos for artists like Famous Dex, King Louie, Lil Bibby, Lil Yachty, Xavier Wolf, Ski Mask the Slump God, Lil Pump, all of which were like very, very famous SoundCloud rappers at this time and would end up really getting his name out there. And finally, by February 2017, he had enough money, he had enough confidence to try throwing another big show just 7 months after his Summer Bash failure. And who better to try to have a successful show with than another up-and-coming rapper from outside of Chicago with the name Playboy Cardi. And not only was Cardi a part of this show, he was supported by Smoke Perp, Lil Pump, Xavier Wolf, and Warhols. So this is an insane lineup. And as you can imagine, not just because of Cardi, but because of everyone, the show sold out within 2 weeks of Cole announcing it. But it wasn't only because of the lineup Cole had assembled. It was also because around this time, he met someone by the name of Berto Solario. He was the founder of Speakerbox. Now, if you don't know what Speakerbox is, they're probably the best live hip-hop like event curator and sponsor in all of Chicago. And they were coming up around the very same time that Cole Bennett and Lyrical Lemonade were coming up. So of course, with that crazy lineup and a collaboration with the boys at Speakerbox, who really know how to promote an event, the show went amazingly. And it's kind of like deja vu and kind of like Cole didn't learn his lesson, because after the Playboy Cardi show had gone amazingly, he announced the second ever Summer Bash. Like I said, it's like deja vu. After the Uzi show had done well, he announced the first one, and after the Cardi show had done well, he announced the second one. So despite that first Summer Bash flopping, Cole wasn't scared to do the second one at all, because he wasn't doing this concert shit for the money, which is different from a lot of people. He did it from a genuine love of the music and a genuine love of wanting to share that music with other people. But even with that in mind, and him not really giving a fuck if it failed, like it would be amazing if it went well, this one was still different because throughout that year, he had built up his industry network a lot more, and he had Berto from Speakerbox help promote this one too, so it was bound to go well. Now, in addition to Speakerbox being a sponsor, No Jumper and Adam 22 were also sponsors. So like I said, he had built up that industry, and it was really hard for him to fail, especially with the crazy lineup that he had. Like, they had Ugly God and Famous Dex, of course, and they also had Matt Ox. But Matt Ox would mysteriously be taken off the lineup and replaced with Ski Mask the Slump God, which at the time pissed a lot of people off. But in hindsight, in 2026, it was probably a very good move, because we still hear about Ski and we don't really hear about Matt Ox anymore. Now, I won't sit here and say that I know for certain how well this show went, but I'm assuming that no news is good news, and this show went amazingly, because like I said, he had all of these connections and all of these other people and artists promoting the show that it seemed like it was hard for it to fail. And just a year later, we would get the first ever Lyrical Lemonade Summer Smash. So I'm assuming all went well and they just wanted to scale up from what they had been doing. And in that year, in between the last Summer Bash and the first Summer Smash, he kept grinding on music videos and doing shows with a couple other bigger artists too, kind of like getting his reps in before Summer Smash would be for real. And by the time July 2018 came around, we got the first ever lineup announcement for the first ever Summer Smash. It included artists like Joey Badass, Trippie Redd, Lil B, Gunna, and Lil Skies, all of who would perform at a one-day event in Douglas Park in Chicago. And as you can imagine, with a lineup like this, better than the last Summer Bash, and Berto continuing to help and co-found Summer Smash, it went amazingly, and the rest is pretty much history from there. But eventually, with Cole getting more and more insight on how to actually run a music festival and getting bigger and artists to perform there that would draw in bigger and bigger crowds, they started to sort of like run out of space in Douglas Park. And by 2023, the festival had been elongated from just 1 day to 3 days and had been relocated to SeatGeek Stadium in Bridgeview, Illinois, which is home to the Chicago Fire FC2 of the MLS, the Chicago Hounds of Major League League Rugby, and the Chicago State Cougars football team. So it's safe to say that this stadium was now big enough to hold the capacity of people that would be brought in by the caliber of artists that they now had performing, especially now in 2023 in a 3-day span. They had Future, Cardi, Uzi, Kid Cudi, Dirk, all performing at the same event. But now by 2026, I truly think that they need to think about expanding again, because I went to day one this year and it really seemed like they either A, genuinely didn't expect this many people, or B, they did expect this many people and it was just completely sold out and they need to go somewhere with more room. Like, sets were pushed back more than an hour. Water stations had like an hour-long wait. Like, it feels like they just need to expand at this point and continue on the history of Summer Smash. Like, I feel like Cole needs to get in touch with someone that maybe runs like Lollapalooza or something and figure out how they're able to organize something so smoothly and get a space that's big enough. So hopefully by next year, we get an even bigger and better Summer Smash. Now, this is the end of the rise of Summer Smash, so thank you guys so much for sticking with me for this whole time. And if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys like and subscribe and comment what you want to see me cover next, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.